Hello, talented teachers. Welcome to Creative Ideas for Teaching English. If you're new to our channel, consider subscribing, sharing, and liking our videos so that it gives us a kind of support. Today's topic is very important for all of us because without it, there is no teaching. Of course, I'm going to share some of my personal work, some crafts. So if you're interested to know more about this topic, stick around. Alright, let's look at these pictures. Okay, so when you look at these pictures, what is the word that comes to your mind? This is a kind of games that you can use during leading. Four pictures, one word. So today we're going to use this as a starter, as a lead-in for our topic. So you can see here, this one. Yes, so what do they represent? They represent the 4 skills. Very good work. So today we're going to have a further talk about the 4 skills. We've got listening, speaking, reading, and writing, of course. So these are the 4 skills in any language. In order to learn any language, we need to master these 4 skills. It's of crucial importance. We need to master these skills in order to master the language itself. So we start with listening, then speaking, of course, then we come to reading or writing. And this is the original order of lessons in any sequence. If you want to prepare your sequence map, you need to start from listening, then speaking, reading, and writing. Of course, there are other stuff inside, so we will talk about that later on. The 4 skills are sometimes called macro skills, and there are micro skills like grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, which are included within the macro skills. So this is what I was talking about before. We have these important skills which are listening, reading, writing, and speaking, and then we have the micro skills which are grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. That's why we are asked to teach these micro skills within the macro skills. We teach grammar in a context, which is, for example, listening or reading, and the same for vocabulary and pronunciation. Now, the 4 skills here we have receptive or comprehensive skills. They are divided into 2 categories, like listening and reading. Listening and reading are receptive skills. We receive the information. We receive. And we've got productive skills, speaking and writing. So here we give an input, and here we provide an output. Learners provide an output. They speak and they write. Let's start with listening. The procedure we deal with listening. Of course, we need a listening script. It's very important to have a listening script. It has to be precise and concise. You know that our scripts are very long and ambiguous sometimes, full of information. So we need to adapt those listening scripts. So if you have more ideas on how to adapt the scripts, please leave a comment down below. We need a positive discussion. We need to get clear ideas. We need to get better together. Learners should be prepared for this script by being introduced to new vocabulary so that they can guess the topic themselves and they won't face a problem while listening. Of course, here we're talking about the pre-listening phase, where the teacher is supposed to introduce the new vocabulary, and of course at the same time he's going to get them prepared for this listening script. The task should be written on the board before they start listening because they have to listen for a purpose. It will be in vain if we provide learners with this listening script without a task on the board. Okay, so we need a task so that they listen for a purpose. Finally, we've got post-listening, where learners are going to reinvest prior knowledge in a productive output. Generally, it will be an oral interaction because here we're going to enhance the speaking skill. So we've got listening leads us to speaking. Learners need to speak, learners need to produce an output. Next, we have reading, which is the second receptive skill. It's the same procedure. We've got pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading. We need a reading script. We need to adopt those scripts on the book because they are difficult and sometimes they are not direct to the objective that we have. So we need to have good scripts. It will be better if we have authentic texts. We've got precise and concise. In order to facilitate, especially with the lack of time, we need precise and concise text. We do not need too much vocabulary and difficult words in these texts. Sometimes it's good to have more information for learners to learn more vocabulary, but I think that we can provide them with extra work at home and not in the classroom in order to gain time. That's all. Of course, learners should be prepared for this script by introducing them to the new vocabulary and getting them ready for reading. Here, it depends on the teacher and the way he can use to introduce these new vocabulary. The tasks should be written on the board. Learners need to read for a purpose. They should not read for just the sake of reading. Of course, they reinvest prior knowledge in a productive output. Here, we focus more on writing rather than speaking. Of course, here, in order to speak about the writing skill. So, listening leads us to speaking, and reading leads us to writing, and all the four skills lead us to master the language itself. So, within the reading, writing, speaking, and listening, we insert, as we said, the vocabulary, we insert the use of, we focus on pronunciation and grammar as well. Now, away from theories, we always listen to theories, but as teachers in the field, and despite the fact that we follow these frameworks and we use different strategies, we find that our learners are unable to produce, but they are weak in writing, especially writing. It's a catastrophe, you know that it's out of 6, so it's really a waste of time and efforts if our learners do not master writing. So the question here, and we need serious answers. If you do not mind, please leave comments down below and share your own knowledge, because we are here in a serious problem. We are teaching the language in our country and we need our learners to learn this language because it's a language of science. We want them to master it, but how do we do that? We need to put hand in hand in order to figure out solutions to get them really master this language. Well, I'm gonna share my personal point of view. You may agree or disagree. You are, of course, have the right to agree or disagree, and I will be pleased if I read your own personal points of view. First of all, I think that the limited use of the language outside school is of crucial importance, because you know that French is the dominant language in our country and the use of English is so limited. Nowadays it's a little bit changing, things are changing, but it's still very limited. The amount of time devoted for this subject at school, since learners do not speak it outside, and even at school we're supposed to teach the same syllabus for all districts around the country, is unfair, because you know that bigger cities are not the same as villages and countryside. So I think that it's unfair to share the same program and then we are tested for using the same official exams. Course book is complicated. The course book is really complicated. Texts are hard, exercises are ambiguous, so we put a burden on teachers to have extra work adapting the course book. It's really hard for us teachers to adapt every day and every time we use the course book. So time is of crucial importance. We need more time, so that if we have time, we will give our learners the, let's say, the appropriate time to practice more. We do not run, we do not have a lot of things to accomplish during 1 year, so we give our learners the time to practice. This is my personal point of view, so I will be pleased, I said before, if I read your own personal points of view. Now I'm going to share some of my ideas on how to deal with listening, reading, writing, etc. So this one, as you can see, is a theater that I prepared myself. It's from a box. I have used it to teach WH questions, okay, for first MS. I'm gonna leave you to listen to this video. It's about Red Riding Hood. Of course, you can use any kind of fairy tales to teach the WH questions. I'm gonna share the idea first, then I leave you with the video. So first of all, they listen to this, let's say, theater play. Then I provide them with the dialogue, the same dialogue in this order. It's a simple dialogue, it's not complicated, clear. Learners, first of all, form the questions answers, then they reorder the whole dialogue. They learn the WH questions and how do we answer them. So now let's listen to the audio, the video, then we come back.
One fine morning, Little Red Riding Hood left her house in the village and went across the forest to visit her sick grandmother. While she was walking in the woods, she met a wolf.
Good morning, little girl.
Good morning.
What's your name?
My name is Little Red Riding Hood.
How old are you?
I'm 10 years old.
Are you lost, little girl?
No, I'm not lost. I'm going to visit my grandma.
Where are you from?
I'm from the village.
Where does your grandma live?
She lives by the river. The wolf asked Little Red Riding Hood to gather flowers. And then he ran to the grandma's house. He ate the grandma, and later he ate Red Riding Hood as well. Thank God there was a hunter passing by. He killed the wolf and then got the grandma and Red Riding Hood safe and sane. The end.
Welcome back. Now it's for reading. Here we've got this house, leisure activities house. I designed this leisure time activities house with verbs, with time, in order to revise both time and verbs. I stick it on the board. Learners match the pictures with the right time, etc. Then they read this, let's say, whole house. After reading it, they transfer those information into written sentences. This is another kind of reading strategies. Reading is not just about reading a text. They can read, let's say, pictures. They can transfer non-verbal into verbal messages, so it's important to change from time to time. Here we've got the speakers box. I will leave you with a video so that you can see it both for this and that. So let's jump into the other video. So first of all, we're gonna talk about the speakers box. This is a speakers box. I have designed it myself. I have used, let's say, shoes box, and I have covered it with these colored papers. As you can see, here you've got use intonation. Here you've got, as you can see here, build coherent sentences, and you've got be fluent. These are some of the important things that any speaker should have. So I wanted to design it that way. Of course, I have used some pictures here and there, as you can see. Okay. Inside, as you were listening to, there are cards. There are cards. Sorry for this one, it does not belong here. Anyways, for example, you've got name your favorite clothes. These cards belong to second MS sequence. Okay, so with abilities, clothes, physical description, for instance, you can even find other cards. For example, likes, dislikes. So there are plenty of cards inside. For example, describe your house. So how are you going to use this, let's say, idea? It's very interesting in order to encourage learners to speak, okay? We want learners to speak, to be fluent, to build coherent sentences. So you take this box, you put the cards inside. Of course, you can design any kind of cards. There are plenty of ideas to prepare for each sequence. Here I have chosen this kind in order just to illustrate things for you. Once you put the cards inside, you give learners the box, they put their hands inside and they choose a card at random. Any learner chooses a card at random. Of course, we're not going to make tens and tens of cards, maybe 10 cards, and we can, let's say, copy them. We make copies. So it means that maybe two learners may get the same card. Here you ask your learners to mingle. They move around and fetch for their partners. Once they find the partner, they can discuss together. Here you're going to encourage peer learning. It's very important. Once they let's say discuss together, they can even write on notes. Ask them. They are going to face an audience and speak. They are not going to read from a paper. Once they finish doing this task, they take, for example, they introduce, I'm going to talk about activities that I don't like or that I dislike. Here they are going to state, for example, 2 or 3 activities in meaningful sentences. So this is the speaker's box. You can use any any box at home, and you create this speaker's box in order to encourage your learners to speak. As you can see here, let's move this. This is another speaker's box. I have made it from baby's milk container. Okay, so as you can see here, it's the same idea. Okay, I have covered it, and from the inside you can just put your hand inside and you pull up the card. I hope that this idea will be useful for your learners. You can just use it. But my favorite is this one. I like it. I don't know why, because colors are bright and the shape is so interesting. Okay, as you can see here, look how beautiful it is and so easy idea. So prepare just cards, put them inside, give your learners time to think for a while. Then they need to face an audience. Be brave to talk freely. This is in order to improve the speaking skills. Of course, for listening, we need to listen to native speakers. It's very important. We're not native speakers. Our pronunciation is not that perfect, so that we're not really models. Of course, learners are going to listen to us during the whole session, but from time to time, try to use a speaker like this one. It's small. There are even smaller speakers. Try to make them listen to maybe a song, maybe a conversation, a short story. Why not? So whenever you find time for your learners to listen, just provide them with a listening script. This speaker works with, let's say, the mobile via Bluetooth. So just click on the buttons here and you just have a loud voice so that your learners can listen to. So In order to improve listening skills, learners need to listen. Of course, we have 1 hour and a half, maybe, or 2 hours a week. It's very short. We're short of time. Learners need to use language more often, but unfortunately, this is what we have. So we try to encourage our learners to, let's say, listen. We can even direct them to some YouTube channels, some listening scripts, some, I don't know. You are the master in your classroom, so you can just help your learners listen more to different, let's say, scripts and ideas. Now we're going to speak about writing. Writing is very important, and it's one of the productive skills that learners need to master, and it's out of 6 in any exam or official exam. It's out of 6, so if our learners miss 6 points, it's really a catastrophe. So we need to encourage our learners to write. In order to encourage your learners to write, this is a simple idea that I prepared myself. I have made this box. Again, it's a box from a shoes box. I wrote here, I'm brave to write. Okay. To succeed, you've got here to be better, to write, to learn. Okay, so to grow. So this one is very old. I can even design a much better version of this one, but I want just to share the idea with you. How are you going to use this idea? Okay, I want my learners to write as much as they can. Of course, even though we write in during I learn to integrate or I think I write, but writing needs more practice. We want them to practice more and more. So the idea of this box is just each day take this box and place it on top of the desk, okay, on your desk, and ask your learners whenever they write something or a piece of writing, they go directly to this box and they place it inside. Of course, they will feel encouraged to put the piece of paper inside. Once you take this box home, you try to correct the mistakes, you try to highlight the common mistakes, and you give the paper back to your learners so that they know about the mistakes and they will not, let's say, repeat the same mistake once more. There is another idea that I ask my learners to buy a copybook, maybe of 96 or 120 papers, then start writing, let's say, from one sentence to 2 to 3, whatever they write. They write the date underneath, okay, in order to check their progress. Of course, this copybook will be given to the teacher to be corrected from time to time. So whenever they write a piece of writing, they give it to you, you correct it for them, and you give it back to them. They can even rewrite the same paragraph once more so that they, let's say, overcome those mistakes. This is one of the ideas that I'm using, and I have some of my learners started working on the idea of buying copybooks and started writing in them. I asked them to keep this copybook for long as a souvenir. For instance, when they grow up, they will see the progress from paper number 1 till the final paper. If they keep writing, I'm quite sure, and I'm really hopeful, so that they will get, let's say, more and more, let's say, perfect in writing, because practice makes perfect, as you know. So these are some of the ideas that you can use in order to encourage your learners to write. Okay, once more, I don't have something concrete for reading, but for reading you can ask your learners to read short stories. You can create a short competition, a competition between your learners. You ask them to write a summary or a sum up for the story they are writing. They speak about the author, the title of this story, and then they give you, let's say, the summary to be corrected. You choose the best summary and you provide them with simple, let's say, gifts, maybe cards, maybe encouraging words. I will post another video on how to encourage your learners using simple things, not really expensive ones, but simple ideas in order to help them get more involved in learning this language.